UFC Fight Night Buckley versus Covington is coming up next weekend, and today, guys, I have the full card breakdown for you with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, we're going to be breaking down these fights as much as we possibly can. I'm going to be breaking down these fights, predicting them, talking about fighters I want to see win. We're going to be taking a look at the betting odds. At the time of recording this video, a little bit early by the time, by the time you are seeing this, I recorded this video earlier in the week. I think there's only one fight that doesn't have odds yet, but regardless, guys, we'll go through it all. I can't wait to talk about this, and timestamps are there if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Let's get started. And this is a really, really good card. We're going to be starting off with Miles Johns versus Felipe Lima. Felipe Lima broke onto the scene and shocked a lot of people, myself included, against Muhammad Naimov. We'll start with Felipe Lima, man. He's a well-rounded fighter, mainly a striker, very aggressive, very creative, and he does have very sneaky takedowns in his arsenal. He can keep up with a really tough fight in general. He is a great fighter. We've only seen him once in the UFC so far, but he seems to have all of the technique, and man, he had a very, very impressive performance against Muhammad Naimov, man. Like, I'm having a good feeling about Felipe Lima. On the other side of the coin, though, we have Miles Johns, who is also a very, very good fighter. He's a strong wrestler with crazy power and crazy speed for the division. Sometimes he does lack technique, swinging huge shots. And there are other times where Miles Johns just doesn't really show up. Sometimes his cardio isn't looking so good, and sometimes he can be low volume. But when Miles Johns is on, he is on. He's looking crisp. He's looking good. In saying that, though, I can't not pick Felipe Lima, man. I am very high on the guy, and I just think that he's going to get past Miles Johns, man. I think that he won't be able to get taken down. I think that he's going to piece him up on the feet, and I think he's going to look pretty good, to be honest with you. I think he's going to continue on with this momentum that we have right now, and I think that Felipe Lima, Jungle Boy, is going to get the win. I know Miles Johns, he had a couple good wins. The Douglas Silva, Deandrade one, not a ton happened, but regardless, like, both these guys are pretty good, man. I just think that Felipe Lima will be a little bit better. And at the time of recording this video, there are no odds for this fight. I think we have odds for every single fight. But regardless, man, Felipe Lima is going to be the pick. I personally don't have a preference who wins this fight. It's just two tough guys. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to enjoy this bout no matter what. But speaking of fights that I am going to sit back and enjoy, I'm going to go a little bit on the opposite side of the coin over here and talk about Miranda Maverick versus Jamey Horth. Not going to lie, I'm not too hyped for this fight, to be honest with you. Jamey Horth coming off fresh of that absolute ridiculous robbery against Ivana Petrovic. That was a ridiculously horrible performance. I don't know how she possibly got that decision, but regardless, let's talk about Jamey Horth. She is a very accurate, very powerful striker for the division. She does a good job pressuring while making opponents think where the next strike is going to land. The only problem is, and in recent times, we have seen Jamey Horth been able to be held on the ground, and that might work against her against Miranda Maverick, who is a wrestler and grappler with good, strong takedowns. Her striking isn't good, but I will say it is improving slightly. Recently, she has shown decent counters into her game. Like, she is a fighter who isn't that good, but she is ever so slightly improving every time that we see her, to be honest. But honestly, she just comes in, she pressures, she tries to get opponents down. Another thing to note about Miranda Maverick is she does an incredible job at listening to her coaches. She's able to adjust between rounds, but in the middle of the fight, she is always listening to her corner, which is really cool. And it's sad that I have to say that a fighter is listening to their corner as like a pro. Like, hey, she actually listens to her corner. So here's the thing. Jamey Horth, I've been watching her before she came into the UFC. She got a nice win at the beginning, but then she had, of course, the loss to Veronica Hardy, and then the absolute robbery win. There's no way that this could be counted as a win. It was a horrible robbery. On the other side of the coin, Miranda Maverick, she's put together 3 wins, but she hasn't really looked good in any of them. She's barely improving. I don't even know if she's going to be the stronger one in there, to be honest with you. But the thing is, after what I just saw from Jamey Horth, who just had a horrible performance, getting controlled on the ground by someone who just isn't all that good in general, if she's getting held down in her last fight, I think Miranda Maverick is definitely going to be able to hold her down. She comes in with a good game plan. I think that she's going to do just that. Come out, look for the takedowns. She's going to get it. She's going to hold Jamey Horth, and I think that she's going to kind of coast her way to decision. Miranda Maverick is going to be my pick to get the job done here, and I'd like to see her win too. I know I just dogged on this fight just a little bit, but Miranda Maverick's a hard worker. Miranda Maverick is very clearly, the little that we've seen, she's improving. So I would like to see her get the win over here. Let's take a look at Odds Jam and what the odds are at right now. You can see Miranda Maverick at a pretty sizable favorite at the moment. That's understandable to me. I'm pretty confident that she gets the job done in this. She's just probably going to be better in general, man. But guys, let's continue on to, man, this is a really good card. Really good card. Another fight that I'm excited for. We have Sean Woodson taking on Fernando Padilla. I'm doing my best. I got a lot of criticism because I kept saying Sean Woodston. I don't know why I keep doing that. Apologies if I continue to do that. I'm working on my pronunciation better. Don't know why I'm pronouncing this name wrong out of all of them. There's some Nurmagomedov names that I can pronounce correctly. There's some Dagestani names that I can pronounce correctly. But for some reason, I'm messing up Sean Woodson. Regardless, let's talk about this fight. I am so excited for this one. Sean Woodson is an incredible prospect. And Fernando Padilla, I believe, is being vastly underrated just in general, man. In general, okay? Sean Woodson, he's an extremely lengthy striker who does a fantastic job on the outside. He's big in there. He's long in there, and I will forever use the way that Dominic Cruz described Sean Woodson. When you're fighting him, Cruz described him as him and his body is like his opponent trying to take down the kitchen table. It's just impossible, seemingly impossible. You just can't do it. I think that is weirdly an excellent description of Sean Woodson and what it's like actually fighting him, but we wouldn't have to worry about the takedowns for this fight because he's taking on Fernando Padilla, who is also a long striker, but unfortunately, unlike Sean Woodson, he doesn't always use his range. He's very aggressive, has a good Muay Thai game. He has an okay ground game, and I don't imagine he's going to explore that in this matchup. Now, I want to talk about Fernando Padilla because, again, I think he is a very, very underrated fighter, okay? Been watching this guy before he came into the UFC. He looked great against Julian Erosa. The Kyle Nelson fight, I personally thought it was a robbery. I thought that he won this fight, okay? And then he had the Louis Pagello fight where he really had a great performance. He used his range well, and I know, like, it wasn't a perfect performance. Like, he still had a couple hiccups, but he's evolving his game. He added some nice, like, really, really rangy elbows. He ended up getting a knockdown, ended up getting a submission. Like, he looked pretty good in this fight. Point is, I still think that Fernando Padilla is evolving as a fighter, and I'm still looking at this guy like he's on a win streak, okay? Sean Woodson, on the other hand, coming off of the fight against Alex Caceres, where it could have gone either way, right? Like, he's had, like, we all know Sean Woodson. He has your typical Sean Woodson performances, but I don't want to say, like, he had a step up in competition against Alex Caceres, but it was a little bit worrying because in this fight, he had a really, really good first round, but the second and third, in my opinion, were very unimpressive. He kept letting Alex get in and close the distance while he has such a long reach, and he just was taking his time too much. Like, most of his shots were slow. Like, the pressure, it's worrying because, like, when Alex Caceres was putting on pressure, it seemed to get to Woodson a little bit. So I think that's something that's important to consider because Padilla, somebody who is constantly evolving his game, somebody who has looked good in recent times, what if he puts that same pressure against Woodson? Is he going to have a great round 2, a great round 3? I don't know. This is a tough fight to pick because, again, I think Fernando Padilla is extremely underrated, but Sean Woodson, the reach is close. They're both lengthy. You know, my gut's telling me Padilla. My gut's telling me it. Like, I've just been more impressed with him. I think this is a very close fight. I think it's very difficult to predict. I'm going to ever so slightly lean, and I'm talking like 55-45 on this one, to pick Sean Woodson to get the win here. And honestly, for fighters I'd like to see win, I'm all over Padilla. Very underappreciated fighter. Really, really respect the guy. Love watching him fight. Let's take a look at the odds over here. And okay, the odds are pretty similar too. You have Sean Woodson just sitting at a small favor over there. I think that's understandable. It makes sense. A lot of people are high on him, and it's nice to see that Padilla isn't being underestimated over there. It's going to be a great fight. I'm very, very interested in that one. All right, guys, let's continue on moving up the card over here. We have Drakkar Klose taking on Joel Alvarez. I'm very excited to see Joel Alvarez back, but man, this is going to be a good fight. So you have Drakkar Klose. He's a good wrestler when on the offense. He is good boxing, and he has decent power. There's not a ton to break down about Drakkar Klose. Joel Alvarez, on the other hand, and I don't mean to gas this guy up over here, but I think I've been very impressed with him. He's a lengthy kickboxer and grappler who definitely prefers and excels when he is really pushing the pace, doing his own thing. He can be taken down in his fights, but he is one of those guys that is weirdly okay with that because he does have really good grappling. He has great cardio. He has great heart. His striking is very, very nice to watch, though, and he's coming off of the massively good performance over Elvis Brenner over here and Brenner is a great fighter in himself. It was a tough fight. He kept calm, landed his shots, and showed an all-round game. I think that he has proven with the quality wins that he's had so far, with his only hiccup being the guy who I actually think might end up beating Islam Makhachev. Like, Arman Tsarukyan's a great loss at, but take a look at the other fighters he's taken on, right? He's looked really, really good, and in his UFC career so far. Drakkar Klose, he's had some good performances, but he's also had some just like, like the Joaquin Silva was a bit of a stalemate in this one, and Joe Slucky, we didn't see too much of it, but I mean, like, he did get a good finish there. It's tough, man. The way that I'm seeing this is I'm just looking at two fighters with one that I'm extremely impressed by, one that I'm like, okay, he's a good fighter, but nothing really screams out and impresses me. I am going to pick Joel Alvarez to win this fight, and I'd like to see him get the job done. I enjoy watching Joel Alvarez. Plus, another important thing to note, is he is still in his prime. Drakkar Klose is almost 37 years old at this point. I think Joel Alvarez has this one. I'm very confident in saying that, and OddsJam is kind of showing the same thing over here. You can see Joel Alvarez sitting at a minus 334 average odds. Makes sense. Makes total sense to me. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that one. I know that wasn't like too big of a breakdown for you guys. I just think that Alvarez is going to get the job done. All right, guys, let's continue on to Manel Kape on the prelims, taking on Bruno Silva. Can't wait for this fight. I cannot wait for this fight, okay? You have Manel Kape, very good striker with good speed, good power. The movement is really good, and sometimes he can shoot in the takedown out of nowhere. He is an okay all-round game. Definitely prefers to strike, though. He's coming off of the first loss. You know what? I'll talk about this right now because he had the fight against Muhammad Bukayev that rubbed everybody the wrong way. The first round, incredibly inactive. And I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but it really seemed like he broke his toe. In the second and third, he completely fell behind. I'm not sure what to think about this performance because, of course, we haven't seen him lose in so long. He did have a toe issue. That was evident. But how much did it matter in that fight, right? Was it just he was taking on a top contender? But even then, like, Manel Kape has some really, really good wins. Felipe dos Santos, David Dvorak, Zalgaz Zumagulov, Ode Osborne, just in his last 4 fights. They've been fantastic wins. I'm inclined to believe the toe was the issue, but I think it's something to consider. Maybe he ended up just losing that fight. Maybe he ended up just having some, like, he just couldn't get his feet together. Maybe Muhammad Bukayev, like, just showed something that he was tentative for, right? Anyways, Bruno Silva, very well-rounded fighter. His finishing instincts and ground and pound are next level. You don't want this dude to hit you. You don't want this dude to smell blood. He will absolutely murder you, and he is on a very, very nice win streak over here against, again, pretty quality opponents in my opinion. Like, I think that Manel Kape has had the better wins over here, but man, this dude, Bruno Silva, he can scrap, he can land bombs, he can finish you on the feet, on the ground. I think he's going to win. I think he's just going to continue the roll. I think he's going to catch Manel Kape, and then he's just going to go for it. And even if Manel Kape, like, shows some good striking, keeps him at bay a little bit maybe, uses his movement, I think that Bruno Silva will just make it scrappy enough that it won't really matter. Plus, you got to worry, is Manel Kape going to show up and be inactive like he was last time? I'm not, like, supremely confident in my pick here, but I think Bruno Silva's going to get the job done, and he is going to be my pick. Bruno Silva, that's got to be the underdog. To be honest with you, I kind of hope Manel Kape gets the job done, though. He's way more entertaining, fun to have around. And, okay, Bruno Silva, sitting at a plus 216 underdog. That's an underdog opportunity for you right there, in my opinion. And I would love to know what you guys think about this down below. Very, very good fight. Very good fight. I had an awkward pause there. Now, guys, let's continue on to the next bout. We have Davey Dangerous Grant taking on Ramon Tavares. I'm excited to see Ramon back in the UFC, man, because he has been nothing but exciting so far. Davey Grant, not a ton to break down with Davey Grant. He's a decently well-rounded fighter. He has good volume on the feet and good power behind his shots. He's 38 years old, almost 39 years old, and he's taken a loss after he's been pretty inconsistent, man. He's 13-7. He's fought some good competition, though. Take a look at his record over here. I will say, though, I don't know why he's been so inactive. If anybody could clarify that in the comments, I would appreciate it. I don't know if he was literally just taking time off, if he made enough money, surgeries, injuries. I don't know. If anybody could let me know about that, I would appreciate it. Anyways, Ramon Tavares, I have a little bit more to say about this guy. He's an aggressive striker with good power in his shots. He has good cardio, sets a nice pace, and he has good grappling if he needs it. He has really, really nice lateral movement with great shot placement. He has really nice technique in general, has a ton of heart in the octagon. The only weakness in his game that we've seen so far is he is susceptible to leg kicks. I don't know if Davey Grant's going to really like chop down his legs, but regardless, when these two go at it, to be honest with you, I've just been more impressed with the recency of Ramon Tavares, man. Like, he's looked good, especially in his last 2 wins over here. Depending on how you want to look at this, because it was a split decision, but in this fight, like, it was a beautiful technical war. It was one of those fights where both guys just had their stock rise, right? And he had, of course, the great win over in the Contender Series, and his only loss being recently against, again, Suri, which was anything can happen, man. Like both those guys are good, man. Both those guys are good, okay? In saying that, I think that Ramon Tavares has the more tools. He has a better heart. At this point, he's probably going to have the better cardio. Like, he's going to push a pace against a guy who's pushing 39 years old and has been inactive. I like Ramon Tavares in this fight. I don't know how far he's going to go, but I do think that he's going to get past Davey Grant. Ramon Tavares is going to be my pick to get the job done. And to be honest, I don't really care who wins. I don't really have too much of an investment in this fight. You can see Ramon Tavares is sitting at a minus 145 average odds right now. I'm more confident in that than 145, so that's something that I'll consider hitting myself. Again, let me know what you think about this one. Now, guys, I have a little bit of an issue with this next one because I hope you guys, like, I know you come to this channel for some, like, nice breakdowns. It is important to note that I am a fight fan more than anything. I just enjoy talking about the fights. I mostly make these prediction videos for fun, to be honest with you, and I do have good reads when it comes to betting, but I always want to be transparent with you guys when I am not educated on a specific fighter, as I should be. Navajo Sterling, we don't have a ton to look at over here. I know he's the kickboxing world champion. From what we've seen in the short amount of time that we've seen him, he has good counters, he has good movement, he has really good power, okay? He's looked great so far, but it seems to be he has had a padded record, and there's just not a ton to take a look back, and I haven't taken the time to go look back at any of his kickboxing fights. I just have what we've seen from over here, so in making this prediction, if you are taking, because again, I like to think that I give pretty good betting advice on this channel. I have good reads. I am very knowledgeable about all these fighters, but I always want to be transparent with you when there is a guy that I'm not that familiar with, and Navajo Sterling is one of those guys. So it's important to note, if you are taking anything that I'm saying here and including it with your own research, just know that this fight specifically is not one that I am educated enough to make a guess on, okay? But for the fun of the video, I'm still going to break it down. Like I said, kickboxing world champion. All we've seen, or at least that I've seen, is good counters, movement, and power. He looks like he's a great striker. Okay? He's taking on Tuco Tokos. He's a decently well-rounded fighter who excels at aggressive striking and always tries to get that finish. He's coming off of a loss. Of course, he has had more fights than Navajo Sterling. He's just coming off of the loss to Umar Sy. But again, that's a tough opponent to take on, right? That's a very, very tough opponent to take on. So this is one of those fights. It's very hard to predict, but from what we've seen, like, I don't think that Tuco Tokos has shown like a well enough ground game to the point where it's like, okay, take down the kickboxer, let's go. But what I have seen is some awesome power and movement from the other guy, right? So I am going to pick Sterling, although I don't have enough to really make a confident pick for you. But man, like, he's looked good from what we've seen. I'm going to pick Navajo Sterling to get the win. Again, don't really care who wins this fight. And you can see, wow. Okay, Sterling is a minus 512 favorite there. I guess that's understandable. Wasn't really impressed with Tuco Tokos. There's nothing to really... It's a weird fight to break down, guys. Weird fight. I wish I had more to say about the stand-up game of Navajo Sterling, but I hope you guys... I know I might get some comments over there, so I just want to be honest, man. I just want to be honest. Now, guys, let's continue on over to the featured prelim. We have Piera Rodriguez taking on Josephine Knutson. Very interesting fight, actually, for the division over here, because you have Piera Rodriguez. She's a very good striker who actually can finish fights. She uses what I like to call calculated chaos to get her finishes, where she can stay with her technique while creating the chaos and just making things crazy. She can keep it crisp. She can keep it nice. She prefers to strike, but she can explore ground options. Now, she's coming off of a 2-fight losing streak, of course, but in this fight against Ariana Canellosi, she was absolutely destroying her and decided to headbutt her twice and got disqualified. Don't know why, but she was having a really good performance. Her hands were looking crisp in this fight. Josephine Knutson, on the other hand, okay? We all know her. I mean, if you're a hardcore fan, you might know her at this point. She's a K1 Grand Prix champion. She is a Muay Thai kickboxer with really, really great accuracy in her shots. She has good head movement. She has good footwork. The problem is, what we have recently seen from her is she has absolutely zero grappling or takedown defense, and that was a lot shown too in the Julia Pelostri fight. While she did get the win over here, it was a close fight. It could have gone either way. My biggest takeaway from this is honestly, like, I was just disappointed in her for the hype that she was coming to the octagon with, man. Like, she was clearly miles ahead on the feet, but she showed zero takedown defense. Absolutely zero. Low fight IQ. For some reason in the third round, or at least late in the second, I don't remember exactly what it was, but she just decided to grapple and ended up on the bottom, which isn't part of her game plan. Like, she just showed no urgency to win at the end of the fight. We have a heart issue over here, even though she had a dominant position at some point. Like, she just did not look good one little bit. In saying that, though, in her post-fight interview, she did say that she was going to work on her grappling. She knows that it's an issue. It's something that she's going to work on. So, until we see it, I am not counting on it. Like, it was beyond bad what we saw in that fight. She's lucky she got the win. I'm picking Piera Rodriguez. At least I know she can make the chaos. She can explore the ground game. And she's a dog in there, man. She is an absolute dog. She wants to make things dirty, and that's kind of what you need in this division, to be honest with you. I'm picking Piera Rodriguez to get the win over Josephine Knudsen. I think that she's going to explore the ground options. And even on the feet, man, like, Knudsen is probably way better on the feet, but the chaos that Piera Rodriguez brings into it, like, she legitimately brings violence. And I can see her using that to get the win. I'm picking her to get the win over here. I don't care who wins this fight either. I'm excited for the fights here, but there's not a ton of fighters that I'm sitting back and I'm like a really big fan of. You can see Piera Rodriguez is sitting at a slight underdog right there. I get it. If it's on the feet, Knudsen is going to look fantastic, but I just think she's going to overcome that, man. I think she's going to look good, and I think she's going to get the job done. Now, guys, before we move on to this main card over here, I want to stop you for just a second. If you guys either want to support the channel, because, again, I talk a lot about betting on this channel. If you'd like to either support the channel or combine my fight knowledge with your own research, then check out the channel membership. It is very, very cheap compared to other channels. You can find it in the pinned comment, description down below, or right next to the subscribe button every single Thursday or Friday before the UFC event. And at times, oftentimes, not all the time, other MMA promotions, I will be uploading a community members only post and a members only video diving into exactly what I am doing with my own money. And again, if you'd like to either support the channel or combine my fight knowledge with your own research, you can do either of those things. Regardless, it is appreciated. And you just watching the video is also appreciated, man. Like, your time is very valuable. I appreciate you guys being here. Also, OddsJam is sponsoring this video. If you guys want a discount over at OddsJam, I love using OddsJam. It's what we use for the videos over here. You can get a discount. It's great if you have multiple sports books and as our series Sports Better. Pinned comment, description down below. Using code Clenbat, you can get a discount when signing up to OddsJam, guys. Let's move on to this main card. Now, guys, let's keep going up the card to Daniel Marcos versus Adrian Yanez. One of the fights that I'm most excited for on this entire card. Two fantastic prospects in a fantastic division. Can't wait to watch this fight. You have Daniel Marcos. He is a versatile fighter with great movement, combinations, and defense. He's not useless on the ground, but he has shown the ability to get up when he's taken down. He has great timing on his shots, manages distance very well, and has a very, very nice variety of shots. Adrian Yanez, on the other hand, little bit more of the same. Technical striker, really fast hands, really good power to back it up, good counters as well. Point being, both guys are fantastic, fantastic fighters in their own right. And excuse me, sorry guys, I don't know if my mic was just picking that up. My dog was having a bad dream. She was whining just a little bit, the poor thing. Sorry to put a little bit of a pause on things over there. Oh, Sunny baby. Sunny baby. Look how cute she looks right now, man. Look how I don't know why she cuddles up to that corner of the couch. She has the entire couch to lay on, but regardless, that's besides the point, okay? Man, okay. Adrian Yanez finally snapped that two-fight losing streak, but in hindsight, that has aged really well. It was a really quick fight against Rob Font, and Jonathan Martinez is a fantastic fighter in himself. He got the nice win over Vinicius Salvador, which is, again, a really, really nice win. Like, he showed great technique while it lasted, ended up getting a solid KO. Adrian Yanez is a very, very good prospect, and a lot of people were jumping off the Adrian Yanez train. I don't know if people are necessarily back on it. I was never off the Adrian Yanez train, but I had questions. He proved that he absolutely still belongs with the contenders of the division. Daniel Marcos, on the other hand, every time we see this guy, man, he's been looking better and better and better. And he just had his best performance again against John Castaneda. He just flat out destroyed him, to be honest with you. I still need to see Daniel Marcos fight against a really good wrestler or a really, really good grappler. But man, from the striking that we've seen, I am high on this guy. I like the momentum of Daniel Marcos. Adrian Yanez is a great fighter. I can see an upset, or I would imagine Daniel Marcos is the favorite. I can see an upset happening in this one. And I can see this. I can see a lot of people being high on Daniel Marcos as well, and Adrian Yanez being the parlay buster of this card. But I'm so high on him. He's looked great. He's looking better every single time we see him, and I'm absolutely picking Daniel Marcos to get the job done. It's one of those fights. I like watching both guys a lot, and it's one of those fights where it's a shame that somebody has to lose. It really is. But that's the fight game that we all love to watch, right? It's going to be a great fight. Can't wait to watch that one. Daniel Marcos is sitting at the average odds of minus 178 as of right now. I get that. To be honest with you. It's a pretty close fight. I can see a lot of people being hyped on Daniel Marcos, myself included. I think he's going to get the job done, man. And again, it's a shame that somebody has to lose that fight. Let's continue on up the card, though, guys. Over to Michael Johnson versus Ottman Azaitar. Ottman Azaitar coming back. He's been on another long layoff. Yeah, over a year ago. Wow. Of course, we all knew this guy as the big boogeyman, and the Matt Frivola ended up shocking the world. This dude has been finished in his last couple fights. Ottman Azaitar has something to prove coming back. He's a very, very powerful striker who does a good job when things get scrappy. He's very aggressive, sets a good pace, and has solid takedown defense in order to keep things on the feet. In saying that, though, he's been rushing forward his past couple fights and getting finished. Michael Johnson, on the other hand, we all know Michael Johnson, a veteran in the game at this point. He's a decently well-rounded fighter, but he's mainly a boxer. He has good power in his hands. He has really fast hands, but unfortunately, he is aging, but he is still a very, very capable fighter. Michael Johnson has what everybody likes to call the Michael Johnson effect, where he can lose to anybody, he can beat anybody. He can beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. He could lose to the person at the very bottom of the division. He can lose to a Darius Flowers that he thankfully didn't end up losing to. But Michael Johnson, man, his 22-19 record speaks for itself. You never know what's going to happen. I'm never betting on a Michael Johnson fight because they're flat out unpredictable. In saying that, though, I would imagine that Michael Johnson would clip at Ottman Azaitar once he's running forward, once he is trying to take Michael Johnson's head off. Johnson's very crisp. He's very fast, especially in that first round. Not a ton to break down here. I think Michael Johnson's going to win by finish in this one. I'm not supremely confident in saying that, but I think he's going to get the job done. I think it's a good matchup for Michael Johnson, but the thing is, every time you think that Michael Johnson has a good matchup, he just shows up in, like Michael Johnson fashion, he can beat anybody, he can lose to anybody. So I am going to pick Michael Johnson, and I also hope that he gets a win. I would like to see him still get a win. 38 years old, almost 39 years old, pushing strong. I like to see Michael Johnson get the win, man. You can see Michael Johnson is sitting at a slight favorite over here. That makes sense. I will highly suggest that nobody ever bets on a Michael Johnson fight. Too unpredictable. Like I said, the guy can beat anybody. The guy can lose to anybody. No thank you from me, no matter how confident I am that Michael Johnson getting the job done. I wouldn't pick Michael Johnson against Weili Zhang. That's not true, but you get the point. Let's continue on, guys. Also, guys, thank you for making it this far in the video, unless you skipped, but still, I appreciate you being here. Guys, if you have not already hit like and subscribe on the video, please consider doing so and dropping your thoughts down in the comments down below. We are going to be one of the biggest MMA channels in the space in the years to come, and every like, every comment, every little piece of analytic that you participate in helps me out a ton. Your time is valuable. Thank you so much for spending it over here, guys. With that being said, let's get into the featured fight. Next up, we have Cub Swanson taking on Billy Quarantillo. Cub Swanson is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Still killing it at 41 years old, man. I hope he doesn't get finished because I know he's getting up there, man. I know he's getting up there, but he is still proven to be capable. He is a very, very flashy, creative, yet technical kickboxer with great cardio, a lot of toughness, and the will to win. He has great movement and counters very well. The only problem is, as I've said, he's aging, and that age has been showing in his performances. But even then, he's proven that he's still a very capable fighter. He's 29-14. Of course, he's been winning, he's been losing, but he's taken on some great competition, man. And even in his last two fights, and I know one of them was a win, but both fights could have gone either way. On the other side of the coin, though, a fighter who is also aging is Billy Quarantillo. He's just an okay all-around fighter. He lacks technique, but he can overwhelm opponents with his aggression. He hasn't looked good, man. He hasn't looked good. Both the Damon Jackson fight and especially the Yusuf Zalal fight. Like, he was picked apart, he was taken down, he was finished, man. Like, he did not look good at all. But Zalal seems to be a pretty capable fighter. But to be honest with you, like, even if you're having, like, issues with Damon Jackson a little bit, like, is that really anything to... I don't know. I just haven't been impressed by Billy Quarantillo. Am I crazy for thinking that this is a fight that Cub Swanson can get the job done in? I don't know why. Like, I've just been so unimpressed by Billy Quarantillo as of lately. But Cub Swanson, like, he's getting old, man. He's almost 42 years old. I don't know who's going to win this one. This is a 50-50-ish fight. Both guys are past their prime. I'm actually going to pick Cub Swanson to win. He's still got it. He can still dig deep, and he can still get the win. Billy Quarantillo, he's 36, but he's been aging worse than Cub Swanson, man. In saying this, Cub Swanson is going to be my official pick. I think it's a 50-50 fight, but for the video, I am going to make a pick. Cub Swanson is my pick, and I hope that he gets a win. I'll be sitting down. I will be cheering my heart out for Cub Swanson. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. Let's take a look at what the odds are at. You can see Billy Quarantillo, a slight favorite. I get that. The younger guy, Cub Swanson, has had some questionable performances as well. Nothing wrong with those odds right there, but I hope Cub Swanson gets the job done, man. I'll be cheering for him. Now, guys, let's move on to the co-main event. Another fight that I think is pretty close, to be honest with you. Tough to pick. You have Dustin Jacoby taking on Vitor Petrino. I think that Dustin Jacoby is an underrated fighter personally. He doesn't always get the job done. He's 19-9, but take a look at these guys, man. Like, he got the win over Kenny Nzechukwu of all people. But of course, he has had Khalil Roundtree Jr., which he won this fight. Most people think he won this fight. Azmat Mirzakhanov, Alonzo Manifield, and Dominic Reyes. That's a really, really tough piece of the division to have to go through. So I honestly don't really look too negatively on him, even though he's won one of his last 5. Vitor Petrino, having his first loss in the UFC, fell into a guillotine choke. Don't get that. That didn't make any sense. But other than that, he's looked okay. Nothing really shined in Vitor Petrino's career, in my opinion. Okay. Anyways, Dustin Jacoby's a great kickboxer. He's good takedown defense, keep things on the feet. Vitor Petrino, on the other hand, good striker, huge power, well-timed counters, and good technique in general. I don't want to pick another underdog. I actually think this is another pick'em fight. I think this is very close. I can see both guys getting the job done. Dustin Jacoby, a little bit more of a gut feeling. I know he's older. Vitor Petrino's still improving. I don't like the loss to Anthony Smith. And Dustin Jacoby's been in there with guys that are far better than Vitor Petrino. And he's had better performances against guys that are far better than Vitor Petrino. I think Dustin Jacoby's a very capable fighter. While I can see Vitor getting the job done over here, I'm going to pick Dustin Jacoby. I think it's going to be a striking battle. And I think that Dustin Jacoby might be able to do better than Vitor Petrino. I think it's going to be a little bit slower pace. I think it's going to go to his decision, I'm kind of convincing myself to pick Dustin Jacoby on this one. I think it's a close fight, though. You can't count out Vitor Petrino. Big, strong guy, 27 years old, taking on the aging fighter, but experienced fighter. I'm going to pick Dustin Jacoby for the video, but again, I think it's a very, very close fight. You can see Vitor Petrino sitting at a minus 284 underdog. There is a lot of really, really tough fights to pick on this card, guys. There's a couple spots that I like, but for the most part, I don't know about the vast majority of these fights and betting on them. Now, guys, let's move on to the main event. We have Colby Chaos Covington actually fighting a contender in Joaquin Buckley. Colby Covington wasting the prime of his career. 36 years old, almost 37, and that's worrying, by the way. I'll mention that now. How long can he keep this up for? This high-paced cardio, like Colby Covington, high-pressure wrestler, great cardio, who just looks to... He lives up to the name. He just looks to cause chaos, spam takedowns, break his opponents. He has little power, and in recent years, he has been tentative. Ever since the Kamaru Usman fight, he's been very, very tentative. And even in the second Kamaru Usman fight, he had to get knocked down in order to wake up and continue the fight. Unfortunately, he comes into fights sometimes looking nervous, man, and that's worrying, okay? Another thing to know about Colby Covington is how long can he keep his style up for? Taking the damage that he does, going into the wars that he can, going with the highest pressure cardio that you could see in the octagon. That time might already be up for him against Leon Edwards. Quite frankly, I don't know if I believe Colby Covington that he broke his foot. I wouldn't be shocked if it was an excuse. He did nothing against Leon Edwards. He didn't impose his will, and that's worrying. I'm not sure if Colby Covington can fight like Colby Covington can at this point anymore. Joaquin Buckley, on the other hand, in the prime of his career, well-rounded fighter who excels at boxing and has very good power. He does have a developing game, and he seems to be improving every single time that we see him. He has good takedowns, he has good instincts, sticks to game plans, has good cardio, good clinch work, and improving speed. He's put together a very nice win streak against some decent opponents, and the opponents have been getting better every single time we see him. Like, he got the nice win against Nurusan Ruziboev, which shocked me, and then got the such sad win over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. The dude's improving. The dude is massive. He's strong in the prime of his career. And again, I like the fact that he's sticking to his game plans. He is really, really wanting to get that title back. Like, he's really wanted to make a point to be one of the greatest fighters ever. Here's the issue, okay? If this was the Colby Covington that fought Rafael dos Anjos, then I would probably pick Colby Covington. But Joaquin Buckley's been improving so much, man. First of all, I don't trust Colby to fight how Colby wanted. How Colby used to fight. If Colby shows up and is a little bit tentative, Joaquin's going to catch him and knock him out. I wholeheartedly believe that. I hate to say it, man. I like both guys, and I know it's really unpopular to like Colby right now, that I do like Colby Covington. Joaquin is probably just going to bully him in there. I do not see Colby taking him down. I see him getting chucked off. I see him getting picked apart, and I see Joaquin just being better no matter where this fight goes. If Colby really, really puts on the pressure and does not quit for the 5 rounds, then maybe, if he doesn't get finished, he can get a 1-up on Joaquin Buckley. But man, I just don't see it happening. Joaquin is so confident. He's getting better every single time we see him. He's been taking on better competition. Colby's probably, well, definitely past his prime now. I can't trust him to show up and be the Colby Covington that we all know. The Colby Covington that went to war. The Colby Covington that didn't care. The Colby Covington that wanted to break people. I don't know if that guy's still there. And even if that guy is still there, I think he's going to get bullied. Joaquin Buckley is a very, very confident pick of mine. And I'm a huge fan of both guys, man. I love watching both guys. And again, like I said, I know it's popular to dislike Colby Covington right now. I don't like I have a sour taste in my mouth after his last performance. And I know that he's been ducking fights, but he's fun to have around. I like Colby. I think he's a good guy off camera. I also really like Joaquin Buckley. So it's one of those fights that I think it's a shame that somebody has to lose. Kind of like we were talking about earlier on the card. It's going to break my heart no matter who loses. It's very important for both of their careers. But Joaquin Buckley, I am extremely confident that he's going to get the job done. Let's take a look at what odds Jam has to say. Joaquin Buckley, I think it should be more than that, to be honest with you. If I were making those odds, I'd put Joaquin Buckley at like a minus 400. Something around there. I think I'm very confident in Joaquin Buckley to get the job done. Most confident I've been on the entire card. Sad to see. And what? Oh, we have props over here. Let's see. Over 3.5 minus 153. I don't know how much I love that. The overs plus money. Not bad. Not bad. Counting on Colby not to get finished. But man, it's gonna be a good fight. I'm not gonna enjoy it because I don't want either guy to lose that fight, man. There's a few fights like that on that card. But what a banger card though to close out the year. I am so excited to watch this entire card. There are very few fights on this card, and maybe just one that I'm not looking forward to. 2 fights, 1 fight, I don't know. Regardless, guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you sticking out and watching the entire video if you did. If you just skipped to the main event, I appreciate you being here too. If you want to keep watching the channel, check out this video that I made recently ranking my top 25 UFC MMA fighters of all time. I would love to have you guys over there. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.